Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We are bellying up to the bar for one of my favorite things, something that I enjoy, the big kid that lives in my soul that can go all the way back to Pong, original Pong, red box, two knobs, pronged going into the back of the TV, set it to either channel 3 or channel 4 with a switcher. I go that far back, pinball, you name it, all the way through to original Nintendo NES with Rob the Robot and the gun, $155 at your local Toys R Us. We go that far back, but that's because I'm old. But to bring it into the new school, the owner, the proprietor, the leader of the pack, and he used. I'm gonna put this in your head right now, because you use Ender's Game, and it's one of my favorite books. You better have read the book. I hope that's part of this. Joining us from parts unknown, what a great first name too. I love his first name. It goes so well with the video games, Mr. Titus Walker.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. I
All right,
appreciate the intro as well.
brother. You gotta tell me now. Before we even get into, I still got to do house cleaning here. Have you read Ender's Game?
Um, is
That
that's is that the Hunger Games?
No,
No,
it's a book called Ender's Game,
no, then no.
bro.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you've never listen to me, Titus. Listen to me. When we can just end the whole interview right now. You can start reading. Just start reading. It is probably the epitome. But let me put it to you this way: it's a movie, and that's why I thought you actually. It's a movie about kids who think they're playing video games as strategy for a war.
Interesting.
And see, my best friend Ken just popped up. He watched the movie. The movie doesn't do it any justice, but movies never do. They can never get everything in. Ken, I'm reading Starship Troopers right now. It's completely different. But let's get some house cleaning done before we figure out what Titus has got going on. As always, folks, over my right shoulder is the big board for Sticker and a Cause. Maybe you've got your own esports team. Maybe you've got your own esports league, or you're just really into making game art or something along those lines, and you got stickers. You can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I don't care where it is. Even my email address is all the above the bar podcast at gmail.com. Let me know what you got going on. I'll give you the address where to send that sticker. We put your sticker up on the big board. We read about you, free advertising for you and what you got going on. So make sure you reach out to us for Sticker and a Cause. Now, we also got to get to our sponsors. Our sponsors are Budget Blinds of East Greenbush and Budget Blinds of Hudson and Cooksaki, New York. They are the Budget Blinds is the largest window treatment company in North America. And right now, the Budget Blinds of Hudson and Cooksaki and Budget Blinds of East Greenbush are running a special 25% off your entire order of select window treatments. On top of that, they also are now partnered with Wells Fargo and are able to offer you up to 18 months of interest free. And this is on any kind of window treatment, even drapery. So make sure you let them know you're there to belly up to the bar, get those windows taken care of. That's Budget Blinds of Hudson in Cooksaki, New York, and Budget Blinds of East Greenbush. Where are you at, Titus? Let's just jump right in. What state are you in?
I'm in Virginia.
What part of VA?
So we have 4 different locations. We have Stafford, Fredericksburg, Ashburn, and then Virginia Beach.
So I've spent time in Stafford, and I've spent time in Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads, because I've retired out of the Marine Corps. So that's
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yeah, so I just want to jump right into this. So, how long has the league been in existence?
So the league was founded in December of 2019. Probably the absolute worst time to start a business
Pretty
around
close.
any type of social environment. But yeah.
So you started it in December of 2019. What was your background before then? What's the origin story You got him already popping up, brother. You got
Yeah.
300 TV. He's firing you up, calling you the GOAT. Um, so what is your origin story? I mean, we need the Final Fantasy origin story here.
Yeah, I got
But
you.
I'm playing
So,
BG3 right now.
hey,
Like I had to put the controller down for BG3 because I found myself at 1:30 in the morning still playing, and I was like, "This is shit. I
yeah,
can't be doing this. I'm a grown man."
man.
So,
Final
so
Fantasy VII is
what?
one of origin story. So I actually grew up playing video games. My dad introduced me to gaming when I was 5, maybe 6 years old, um, and I it was Mortal Kombat. Probably not a great game to be playing at 5, 6 years.
5, 6 years old. Don't worry about it, son. You'll love it. It's
Yeah,
great.
exactly. Mortal Kombat, Sega Genesis, and fell in love with gaming. Played, a lot of like Soul Calibur. I really got into fighting games. Didn't fully understand them, but I just loved kicking ass. Like it was just that was like the greatest for me. Yeah, so did that. Still a big fan of Mortal Kombat, but transition started playing a little bit more shooters. Played a lot of sports games growing up. As I played a lot of sports, and I'm not a big fan of. I didn't watch sports, so gaming, it was more a way to express myself creatively in playing different sports games because I enjoyed playing it, but I wasn't, a huge fan of watching other people do it.
I get
Um,
that.
and so, yeah, just got into sales and then transitioned into real estate. Did real estate for a good 8 years um, well, actually it was probably about 6 years before starting, and I did both at the same time. So I had my real estate gig, where I was buying, getting into developed land, building it up, creating communities, buying and selling houses, flipping houses, that type of stuff. And then saved up some cash, knew I wanted to start a business. And my wife was like, "Hey, you love video games." We were playing virtual reality, and we were playing it like probably until like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and had it up on the charger, and just like she was like, "You should do a business doing this," and I was like, "Huh, that actually could work." And so started doing some research and realized like if I was to do a business like this, I'd want to do it in a competitive arena, and then I'd want it to be more based around some sort of competition to get people coming back. Because right now you have Discord, you have Xbox Live, PlayStation, PCs. You can be in a virtual world together, and it feels the same as the old school arcades. So I knew that was kind of outdated, and I needed to do something different. And that's kind of how the concept of an end gamer was created.
And I gotta tell you, before you can say that virtual world's like the arcade, until you can somehow get it to smell like body, like straight body and stale soda. You can't reenact the arcade. I mean that's a different level.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
and I've got some thoughts in my head. Now you're talking about games. Now your competition, if I understand everything about the competition right, and please, Titus, I say shit wrong all the time, so make sure you fix me. You've got about 400 members of the league currently, correct?
Yeah.
Now I'm not to get into the league. Is this a like? I'll give you an example. So my one son is at University of Albany, and within like the first week of school, he was like, I was like, "Hey, what are you doing today?" "Well, I got this, that, and the other, and I got COD League tryouts." And I'm like, I get, and he was at University of Southern Florida, and they had like, I never realized that you guys had like triple A, double A, single A
Mhm.
type baseball because he was like, "Oh, I was on the white team." I'm like, "I don't know what that means." And
Yep.
he explained it all to me. He was like, "Yeah, I, I can get up in there." He's pretty damn good at the stuff, but that doesn't mean nothing coming from his dad. But of these 400 members, how do, you know, is it like, "Hey, I'm Joe Shit the Rag Man. I can pay you and then I get to be in the league," or is it you're drafted into the league? How do you get in?
You can't pay to get in. So we actually don't. accept any form of payment from players. We pay the players; they don't pay us. So we look at it kind of like the NFL, NBA, and with that, we're not. Our goal is to get them to be paid higher than any NBA, NFL, whatever star in the future. But it's easy come, easy go when it comes to registering. You can get into the league very easily. So you can register just by signing up on our draft registration, and then you get drafted onto a team based on your skill set. What genres of games you play. Even the concept of an end gamer. I know you have the movie or the book reference,
Yeah,
but
like I'm all in. The book is in my
yeah,
head.
an end gamer is a word that we actually created. It's the master of the art form of gaming. So rather than focusing on any like Call of Duty, for example, their focus is on 5 different genres of games, and instead of a particular game. So you have shooting games, fighting games, sports, racing, and strategy games. And those are all the different genres that you can compete
I
in.
love that.
And so they master the art form of specific genres or all genres. The end gamer can master them all. But so they focus more on the art than they do any particular title. And that's really the difference between us and others. And so when we came up with that concept, the goal was to make it so that somebody could get into the league very easily. And then from there, they build up their resume. And so a lot of people join as a Call of Duty player, for example. We then register that as, okay, they're great at Call of Duty. What about Call of Duty are they great at? Is it movement? Are they better at aiming? Are they better at their decision making? Because that translates into other titles and other genres. So if you're a great decision maker, chances are you'll also be good at the sports games that require that type of decision making, or the fighting games that require that type of decision making, or the strategy games, right? If it's just your aim is better, like your ability to aim, well, then you may be better at more of the racing games because that's more of the split second. You got to move that positioning of the car and stuff like that. And so we've been able to translate into the kind of the real life skills and make it so that it's not about the game, it's about the skill or the art form of gaming, and then putting people in the position to be able to succeed in gaming, no matter what game they're playing.
And if I again, 33 different games is what we're talking about here. And most of the stuff, like I said, my sons are very into it. We've watched some of the league stuff that are out there. They understand it very well. But it's Call of Duty. It's can't think of the one that used to have commercials for all the time, but it's like I can't League of Legends.
Yeah.
There's like a handful of them. Over in Korea, they have some very specific, like this is what we play, and they've been
Yep.
doing it for almost decades at this point. I'm trying to think. Byron Hune. I'm not sure if you know who Byron is. He's been on. He actually wrote the book on esports as from a business standpoint. Um, and he's worked with KPMG, the big financial company,
Oh
so
wow.
that he's their financial guy. Like when these big financial companies are like, "Hey, we want to invest in esports," he's the guy they call,
Okay.
and he tells them how to do it. And we've talked about this, and he's like, "Those leagues are very specific driven.
Yeah.
How do you, because there is so many, and because you're not looking for that, what's the right term, that specialist in a
Mm-hmm.
game, um how do you put, and I won't say differentiate because I've already explained how you differentiate, but how do you draw in that person so that they're like, yeah, I'd rather play all these games than just that one? Does that make sense? Like,
Oh,
how do you draw
absolutely.
that?
Yeah. So the thing is, the average gamer plays 24 games a year. The average gamer, and so the norm in gaming is well, you're a little bit of a gamer, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just finished. I'm playing BG3 right now. Was playing Ascendant, and
Okay,
then I got
so
stuck
that's
in a
already
spot and
two.
I got so pissed. I finished Harry Potter.
Okay, that's three.
Um, what's my sons would be able to come in here and be like, "Dad, you also play blank, 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 blank."
Right. Okay.
I'm uh, WWE
Okay.
22, whatever it was the newest one,
Yep.
22. I didn't play
Uh-huh.
23 yet. I love wrestling games. I love
Yeah.
wrestling games. Like
So So
all about
just that
revenue.
there, right? Like what
Right.
from what you've told me, you fit into a class of gamers that exists. Like it is more fringe to play one game than it is to play multiple games.
Oh, really?
It is well, I mean, realistically, yes. In esports, no. In esports, everybody thinks of it the same way. It's like they think
Right.
of it like a linear game. You get from here to here, and that's it. There's, every rule makes it to where you have to do this thing specifically. It's like everything's linear thought process, right? But in gaming, gamers as a whole, the other 99% of the world that plays video games plays multiple games. They don't play one game. And even the ones that are professional in that one game, they always branch out and play other games, right? And so the goal isn't really to convince them that to convince them to play multiple games. The goal is to convince them that it is a competitive way of expressing yourself through this thing that is gaming, right? It is a competitive way of truly being able to express yourself. And a lot of the games, so we have pro gamers that join our league. They come from one game, they're playing this game, they're making money, and they'll join our league. And the biggest thing we see is they're given this ability to express themselves that they haven't been given in any other league. Because if you're playing in a Call of Duty league, down to the gun you're allowed to use and the attachment on that gun, there's
Yeah. Oh,
rules.
it's crazy. Like
Yeah,
they're
like
I don't even know how they do it.
there is no form of expression in that. Well, there is. Don't get me wrong. There is, but I think it's so limited that, like, if they opened that up, it would be chaos for a little bit, but eventually it would become a form of expression that I think you get to see. Oh, this is the meta until it's not anymore, right? But a lot of these leagues don't even allow for there to be a meta. They just start out with this like, you have to play the game this way. If this person goes this way, you have to go that way. Like, and it's like, well, how are you really expressing yourself in that? Where
Now, when you say meta, what do you mean? What do you mean when you're saying
a meta means like essentially what I mean is everyone is playing the game the exact same way. So like if a rocket launcher is meta, then everybody uses that same rocket launcher because
okay, I got
it
you.
is almost impossible to beat. And we get those a lot in this league where everybody wins. A great game is Wreckfest. It's a demolition derby racer. It's crazy. It's a lot of fun. It's on our yeah, it's fun. It's on our
I'm all about that.
yeah, it's on our wheel. And for a long time, there was what everybody called the bus strat. And the bus strat was where rather than picking a car, everybody picked a bus. And then they would just destroy the car before they could finish the race, right? That became the meta in the league
Okay, gotcha.
until the teams realized if you mixed and matched, it was actually better. So you'd have two bus and maybe three racers, right? And the two buses take care of the other buses. Meanwhile, the racers are still racing and they win, right? So
Right.
that form of expression is allowed to happen here, whereas it doesn't. It's not allowed in other leagues because there's so many rules around it.
Now, there's other leagues when I hear that, thinking of more mainstream sports, and I think that esports are becoming mainstream. We
Yeah.
just had the largest esports stadium built. There's esport stadium hotels now that you can stay at, like resorts. This is, it's when people are like, esports aren't sports; these aren't real sports. I go back to the argument of fishing. People are like, uh, outdoor sports fishing, bro. I fish. You put the pole in the water, and that's the end of this until the fish eats it or you reel it in. You're not really an athlete. Let's not get silly. The best quote for that was John Crook from the Phillies, who said, "I'm not an athlete. I'm a baseball player." He.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about uh, the singular aspect of some of these, it reminds me of stock car racing, because they all race the same car with the same outfits and the
Yep.
same pieces. Doesn't that mean that you're forcing the skill set over the equipment? Like what you're talking about, like, hey, I can be creative. I can have the AK with these attachments and all these other things that may give me an advantage over you who likes to use an automatic shotgun. But when we force them all into the same equipment, isn't it in that same level as stock car? Like, now your skills have to show.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it to where essentially when you're talking about the singular titles, yes, it can do that. It doesn't always, but it can do that. But when you're talking about what we're doing, it makes it to where now you have the skill, the knowledge, you have skill plus knowledge and experience that gets to show. You get to
Gotcha.
see the difference there. Like it's the craziest thing when you see somebody go into a match and they pick something that if you had a little bit of knowledge in the game, you would know to pick something better, but they don't because they don't know, right? And so we saw when we were in one of the, I think it was season 3, we had Forza on the wheel, and someone picked an Audi versus a F1 car, right? And it was like, well, that's not going to work, right? But they picked what they thought was the fastest car, right? An Audi, I think it was a R8 or something like that. Versus an F1, it was never going to work. But that's where the knowledge comes in, and that storyline isn't allowed in any other thing. And you could argue the same for in basketball. Everybody would just wear whatever the best Jordans were if it's going to give them that much of an advantage. Or in football, everybody would have the best gloves. Every wide receiver would wear but there's that expression that will always come out in any type of art. I believe that expression where PCs are the master race, is what they say, the master race.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because the movement and all that stuff is so much better, right? But there are people that can play on controllers better, period. Yeah. And so but if you forced everybody to use a PC, does that make it only skill? No, it doesn't, right? You can have skill and use something else or express yourself a different way and still make it down to skill. And that's what we've been able to do. And so
that's awesome. I love the idea that if I just really love the Audi A8, like this is what I'm, and if you look at that and you're like, dude, this guy's got an F1. You do know what that is. It's like a 4-cylinder with 1 billion horsepower. You understand that, right?
Right.
So is there any games, and I'm just curious about this. So you had any games where people have lobbied for you to say, hey, we want to add this game into the league? Because right now it's 33 matches. Mm-hmm. You've given out over $100,000 in cash prize money. And I definitely want to know about some of the sponsors here, because that's who's paying your bills, and you're welcome to talk about them here. But have you had any games where on either side of it where people have lobbied you to say, hey, we really want you to go ahead and find one of those ET console games that are buried somewhere in that landfill. We want to play that one. Or yes. My buddy's talking about the Ghostbusters, or I remember the Impossible Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game that is impossible to play. Like, has anyone lobbied you for a game like that where either you let it in or you were like, no way, we could never do this?
So that's the fun in what we do. The expression doesn't stop in playing the game. You get to, so every season, before I announce the new wheel, because it changes every season, and it's all staying within the genres, right? And so when you, from a business perspective, without diving too deep, we become the advertisers of the game. And now the game has to lobby to be on my wheel, right? If I own the audience and the audience isn't there for you or your game, they're there for me and my game. They're there for the UEL. Then now I have the control and the power over what I decide, right? You can't tell me I can't play your game. And if you do, cool. I'll just put in another game that is a fighter, a shooter, sports racer strategy, right?
Nice.
So every season, though, we have a specific number of games that are available for community, right? And so the community will I'll open it up to everybody, and we have like a huge community, but we open it up and we say, I say, just send me a message with your reasoning and a game that you want to add to this. And then I go through and I research for the next like 3 months. I'm researching each game that's being sent and saying, how does this work? Will this work? Is this something that we will enjoy? Is this something that will last long term? So that we can find both. We want small developers. We want large developers. We want the fringe games. We want the big games. We want all of it. And we just want to be able to express ourselves as Endgamers.
Bro, I love it.
Yeah. And so every year, every season, a new wheel comes out. It's the biggest event of the year where everybody gets to find out what are we competing. on. And next season, so it's $100,000 this season. Next season, it'll be another $100,000. And then it'll, continue, and a new wheel will come out. We'll compete in that. And yeah, it's
Brother, that I love that idea, but I'm gonna lobby something right now. You ready? Here's my lobby.
okay.
Sports. Whatever your sport, whatever your sport game is, as I'm assuming you're playing either PC, PS5,
Yep.
that whatever that one is from Microsoft that nobody gives a shit about. I don't play that game. Here's my lobby. This year's championship for sports, you bring it old school, and they have to play the original Sega Genesis Joe Montana Sports Talk Football. You have to play that. That's like whatever team they ran with this year. Sure, because there's not a Baltimore Ravens in there, so you got to play the Cleveland Browns in that one. But whatever team they ran with all season long, on the final one, you've got to run with Joe Montana Sports Talk Football. What's your thoughts?
We have there's 7 different sports games, and they range from, like, we have football, we have hockey, soccer, all that. And so
your boy Goat said, "Pay us and we will." I'm just giving out ideas. Goat, I'm an old idea man. Like, you can't ask an idea man for money. I'm just all about the ideas.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If so for some reason Joe Montana wants us to put his old game on the wheel,
but think about that. Think about that. Like that puts every player again on an even playing field, because probably most of your players weren't alive when that game came out. So now they've all got to play Sega Genesis, Joe Montana Sports Talk Football, like with Joe's play and everything else.
Yeah,
like I'll give the secret away. The play in that game is halfback toss and pass, and play the Chicago Bears, because Walter Payton's still on there. So you do a halfback toss and pass to Walter Payton, and it's a touchdown every fucking time. Like it's ridiculous. But you got some, like, you're getting a lot of love, brother. You're getting a lot of love. You got obviously Goat Productions. You've got TCB QWERTY. Give him some love, Mr. Bucket is out there. Goat says Endgamers can and will do it all, brother. Yeah. I'm with it now. Now Nate's my people. This is an important one. As a gamer myself who enjoys games, I mean, bro, I even wore my Third Eye Comics 20-sided die T-shirt for you. Look at that. I love my games no matter what it is, tabletop, anything. I'm playing BG3 right now. But his question is what is your favorite food or drink? Like, do you have, like, do you go Mountain Dew, Red Bull, or is you that? Or are you like on that new level of gaming where it's like, I need water and tofu? Who are you?
I'm a sparkling water guy. And it's
that's
really
fancy.
Yeah, no. I hated sparkling water growing up. But not to on a like my when my grandfather passed, he was big in sparkling water, and I just started drinking sparkling water with everything. So that's been my thing for past year and a half, 2 years. But to eat,
no junk food,
yeah, well, to eat, I mean, probably Doritos, like a Popeyes spicy chicken sandwich. If I got
here in VA, bro, you can get Bojangles.
I have never had Bojangles in my life. I don't even know what you're talking about,
bro.
I'm gonna have to try it now, but I've never had that in my life.
Listen to me. Bojangles Bowberry biscuit is like, the icing that they put on a Cinnabon.
Yeah.
Imagine that icing on a blueberry biscuit. Buttery. Listen to me. On a buttery blueberry biscuit.
And one of my managers used to work at Bojangles, one of my store managers, and I'm gonna have to ask her about it. Shout out Wanku.
And Mr. Bucket says he's all about the G Fuel. We do NYCC every year, New York City Comic Con. G Fuel is always there, and you got Hollywood popping up. I need some competition in this league. I'm personally pay a team to come and beat me. Wow. Hollywood's dropping a gauntlet on y'all right now. Gives heartburn thinking about it. Hollywood is wild. The dad bod has changed. Go listen to me. Go. I did 20 years in the Marine Corps. Used to be able to do 19 dead hang pull ups, run 3 miles in 23 minutes, and 100 crunches in 2 minutes. I am now no longer paid to do those things, and I rock a dad bod like a boss. So moving forward now, I know you mentioned the 4 locations for the league, but we also talked about virtual. So if somebody's interested in getting in the league, if I'm understanding it right, they don't need to be in VA. They don't have to travel down there. The league is played around. But if I wanted to go, is that still an option also?
It's the only option. So believe
Okay,
it or
so you
not,
do still have to come to VA.
yeah. All of our players travel. We have people that travel from Vegas, California, all the way down to Virginia to compete in this thing. So it's all over. A lot of our players are coming from New York every week. And so each team is owned by an investor, just like an NFL, NBA team, right? And so their their goal is they have an 18-man roster, and in any given game they play between 5 and 7 players. And so their goal is to get people out when they need them. And so if you're playing a team that heavily focuses on fighting games and sports games, you may not bring a fighting and sports team, right? You may bring out your players that are more focused on, strategy games and shooters or whatever. And so certain teams focus on certain things, and it's normally based on what the team owner decides they want to focus on, or the general manager decides they want to focus on.
And bro, I don't mean this. I might be starting something here. I mean, Marcus is telling Hollywood he should be practicing right now and not watching the show. I mean, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you there, Marcus. But I mean, Hollywood already said all of y'all need to go ahead and get your shit together. He's taking down the whole league. You over here telling my man he needs to be practicing. Interesting. I don't know how you feel about that, Hollywood, but damn. But and go UNNY. We have to talk about where you at. I'm in upstate. I'm in Albany. So do they know coming into the weekend, and it's a whole weekend play, right? It's not just
That's one game, one
one
day.
game.
Yep.
Do they know coming into it, like, hey, this weekend is sports, and they know what sport it is, or is it like, hey, we show up and this is what we're playing?
So I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit. So,
Yeah, please.
So essentially, when they come out, they know they're playing against, let's say, the bots, since the owner of the bots is in chat. So
Who's the owner of the bots?
the GOAT is the owner of the bots. So
Go.
so let's say the bots are playing the Reapers, right? So if the bots and the Reapers are going to match up against each other, they know the time and place that they're playing. Then when the clock starts, there's a roulette wheel with the 33 games. So there's 33 games for a reason. So I like roulette. I'm a gambling man.
I love it.
So the wheel spins and it has all 33 games, and they're mixed and matched for genre. So that season's game, this season has like 7 shooters, 7 sports, 7 racers, whatever. And so wheel spins and it lands on a game. They play that game. That game is worth 1 point. So then it'll spin again without that game on it. So that wheel shrinks, that game's taken off, it spins again. And it continues for the next 4 hours until the 4 hours is up and one of the teams has more points. If it's a tie, they go into a sudden death with whatever's left on the wheel. And then that's the end of the game. And so they go into it not knowing what they're going to have to play. They have to be prepared for everything.
Bro, I love every bit of that. I was so happy to hear you, because like in my head, that's what I'm thinking. That is as fucking cool as it gets. Because again, we've kind of mentioned some of these other leagues, and it's like, the COD League. I mentioned that one because I play. Well, there's another game, Call of Duty. I play Call of Duty.
There you go. You're at like 10 games now.
I'm at 35 games this year, and I'm thinking to myself, like, God, I didn't think I played that many.
Right.
But that's another one. But I love the idea, because those leagues are, we play this. Yep. This is the game we play.
Yep.
That's the end of it. But Marcus, don't let it. Look, I know Marcus, that he probably just texted you and was like, he's coming for you. Don't let him come for you, brother. I got your back, man. What league? What team is Marcus in?
Marcus is actually not on a team. He's the chief production officer. So he
Marcus,
all of our...
I'll get you a team, man. I got you, bro. But I love the idea that you kind of, somebody couldn't just show up and be like, hey, we're playing COD or we're playing League of Legends, this, or Gran Turismo, which I got to ask you a question about that. And they really, you have to be prepared for anything that could be dropped in your lap. Now, can a player play back to back games? Like, so say I'm a really good sports player and, also really good at some RPG that you're playing. I don't know if there's an RPG that you could play in
Yep.
that short of time, but maybe I'm really good at that and they end up back to back. Can I play back to back or am I forced to sit out at least one round and somebody else has to play?
Great question. So we set it up like a baseball rotation. So every single person on that team has to play. And so the coach has to determine that games are won and lost by coaching. And so the coach has to determine, is that game important enough? Is that player important enough to play in this game, knowing that that's your best player for whatever the next game could be, right? And so they have to strategize. Is this win that necessary, or could we, hold back a little bit, maybe keep our best player out and then get the win anyways? So you have to know who you're matching up against. There's a lot of film to watch. Every game is streamed. So, a lot of the coaching and general managers, they're watching film to know, what is the matchup like for this team versus this team versus this team. And so, yeah, coaching is 60% of our league. If you don't have a good coach, you've lost already.
Do you have like a Discord that people can get onto while the league's going? Like, so while the stream is happening on Twitch, I could be on Discord talking about what's happening.
Yep. Yeah. In our Discord, which is on all our socials at UEL Esports. So yeah, the Discord is just nothing but trash talking, mostly from Hollywood. Yeah,
I
so
could
it's
tell.
mostly Hollywood in there, just trash talking every new person that joins. We had a major pro, like one of the top 5 fighting game players in the world, joins the league, and Hollywood's first comment to the guy is, "Yeah, but you can't beat me in anything else." So it's like he joins the Discord and immediately is getting called out.
Oh,
But yeah, he has no. But I mean, Hollywood is ranked. So we have rankings. We have stats for everything. So every player has their ranking and their stats for every genre. We know all the games they've won and lost in their career. And Hollywood is ranked based on the numbers number 1 in the league. So
now Hollywood, this is just for you. I saved this. I saved this sound drop for certain people. This is for you, brother. You got tiger blood. I got tiger blood, man. I save that for certain special people. That's for you, brother. So we can jump in, we can get into different games. You got to be prepared. This isn't like hey, I got my Mountain Dew and my I'm gonna head down with a bag of Doritos and play video games. Like this is legit, there's strategic pieces to this. They're working it all out. I mean, everything you're telling me, this is something as a sports guy who enjoys sports, I would want to watch this. Like
yeah,
I get bored watching those leagues. I'm sorry. Like they come on and I'm like my sons will be like, Dad, I'm a big fan of blah 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 from Los Angeles and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, are they gonna play any other games or this is it?
yeah.
And that's all they play. And I have to say, man, I'm really, really uh loving every bit of what you're saying. So now sponsorship though. So who are some of the people that are sponsoring you? Because I mean, $100,000 isn't a drop in the bucket. Any one of us that's watching this, I mean, you probably stab your best friend in the big toe for $100,000. So I mean, who are some of the sponsors that are out there?
So most of it was self-funded. For a while, we have Gracie's Jiu-Jitsu. Shout out the goat, who's
The
helped us
real
with
goat
funding
there.
as
That's a
well.
different
Yep.
animal.
And then G Cubed and GC3S, which is a
Now, what are they?
technology company. They're a cybersecurity company that, and they are partnered with a nonprofit. We just got a couple partnerships with some headsets with Lucid Sound, still, and then Zip Chairs, which is the official NFL gaming chair, and
Okay.
then we have like little things we're working on with other people that I won't bring up now, but that are in the works as well. So most of it is just grinding to get, come up with the cash, and then put on a show.
That's 90% of it, brother.
Yeah.
Now how about some of the games that are coming up like Starfield? I want to play Starfield. But I have a job and I don't know if I could play that game. Like have you heard about this game?
Yeah, the one in the, like, it has like all of the whole galaxy basically that you can explore.
Every
And
every planet is a actual like explorable world. Imagine Dragons wrote the theme song for it.
Yep.
Like it's called like I think the song's called like Star Child or something like that. I just heard it the other day. I was like, this is a jamming ass like Imagine Dragon song. But like, would that be a game that's too much for what you're doing? And if so, what are some of the games that like you are thinking about? Like I told you, I like WWE. Like, would that be a kind of a game like you could say, like, hey, you could be Brock Lesnar, I'm gonna be Mark Henry. Like,
Yeah,
but
WWE is on the wheel.
oh, Mark
So
Henry.
yeah, so that's on the wheel. I would say those games aren't off the list. Eventually, eventually what will happen is the games will create some sort of game mode to fit within what we're trying to do. And
Okay.
so as of now, if the game doesn't have a specific game mode that will fit into what we're trying to do, then no, it's we're not going to play it. But the if as we grow and we get a big enough community, let's say we have a million gamers and viewers and people trying to join, um, at that point now we can go to those types of games and say, hey, you want to come out with a bang, you want to really be able to promote your stuff, you want to have a community of people, here's how you do that. You make it a game on our wheel, and then you create some sort of game mode that we can play, that fits within what we're trying to do, and then we'll go from there. And so what we're really doing is trying to give control back to the gamers. At one point, you couldn't put out a game if it wasn't finished. You couldn't put out
Absolutely.
there was a point in time in both of our lives where a game had to be finished before it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everything is a microtransaction, and the games don't even have to be finished, right? Because the developers own every part of every world. So
Yeah,
they
just ask
own,
Rockstar. They don't
yeah,
fucking finish anything.
yeah, they own both the competitive side, the esports side. They own it because the nobody in esports is, well, I'll say this: people in esports aren't thinking outside of the box, and they're staying in that box, which is then they're being forced to do it the way that Call of Duty says. Like, and so that becomes an issue. But then on top of that, it makes it to where everybody has to follow whatever the developers do. You just got to live with it. If you want to be able to have fun and express yourself and play a video game, you got to live with whatever comes out, right? You can complain, you can do all that stuff, but you can't really control any of it. With
Right.
what we're doing, if we can keep the community playing the games that really the community loves, and the games that are being completed, if it's not complete, if it's not done right, if it's microtransactioned out, then it comes off the wheel and you lose an entire community, right?
You're
If
talking
you
about
finish,
Destiny, right? You're talking about Destiny, like
yeah, that's one of them.
microtransaction.
That's one of
I
them.
loved Destiny, bro. I played
That's
the
another game. We're already, how many games are we at now?
bro. I played the shit out of Destiny, and I was a monster. I don't care what nobody said. I was I used to go in and try to like kill off like under bosses that needed like teams of 3 by myself. And I was like, yeah, I got this. Don't worry about it. I shoot him like twice and hide for 10 minutes and then shoot him 2 more times. I don't care. But I mean, but I love the idea of you guys are trying to take that part of the community back and give back. And we're getting close to closing the bar up here. I mean, this is absolutely fascinating to me because I really think, Titus, you're tapping into a side of this that is more for, well, like you said, the average person plays 24 games in a year. You're tapping into the real game player,
Yep.
vice that it's like the kid in school who like, well, don't you know Johnny plays baseball and he
Right.
plays fall ball and he
Right.
plays spring ball. And then
Right.
when the season during the winter time, his parents ship him down to Florida to live with his grandmother so he can play even more baseball. You know, that's what we're seeing in these other bullshit leagues. And that's the lives that they're living. Where on the other side, you're appeasing to like, God, I couldn't imagine the excitement of sitting there and watching that wheel turn and pulling a straight Price is Right, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you're down to your one guy in the rotation who sucks at first person shooters, and there
Yep.
it is. Destiny, and
Happens
you're like,
every game.
oh, like,
Every game.
unless
Something
guys
like that
like, I
happens.
suck at these games. It's bullshit.
Yep. And
Like
it's
I
like that
want
you'll never see this again. This will never happen again, but it happened now. And
to
what
love
are the
every
chances?
minute of that. That's and that just sounds like it's fun and it adds some excitement. Now the other side to this is if folks wanted to come see the games, like is there like a an ability to go see it or
Yeah. We have an
subscribe to
arena
like
here in
so
Yeah,
you
we
have
have
an
an arena here in Stafford where you can watch it
okay.
live. Or if you want to watch it online, we're on Twitch at UEL Esports, and then it's live on Twitch, and then it gets uploaded to YouTube afterwards. But I'll say this too, quickly. So when you think about like other sports, the NFL, NBA, they took almost 100 years to
Yeah.
really blow up because they're specific. They're a specific type of thing, right? Just like with esports, you're playing one game or one title or whatever. When the UFC came out, it didn't take away from boxing. It didn't take away from jujitsu. It didn't take away from wrestling. It didn't take away from all those different things. They still very much succeeded on their own. It wasn't about taking away from those things. It was about giving the viewer, the spectator, something that could truly demonstrate who the ultimate fighter was, right? And that was the beauty of the UFC and why it blew up at 10 times faster than any of those other sports, right? And when you think about all these different fighting genres, they still do okay on their own, but UFC has something special in that it allows you to demonstrate the art of fighting. And you get to see that art form in its truest form, where it's not just about who's the best boxer, kickboxer, taekwondo, jujitsu, whatever. It's who's the best fighter, right? And they mix those things up, and you see these different styles that are like, whoa, what is that, right? That's what we're doing. That is exactly how we're doing it, and that's exactly why we'll be the largest esports league on the planet in 3 years.
Bro, as long as I can say I knew. So I have certain rules on this show. Like I told you the rules at the beginning. There is another rule. I didn't tell it to you. So I only have one rule, and no one's been able to do this for me yet. You want to know what that is there, Titus?
What is it?
I need to walk a red carpet. I need to walk a legit red carpet at some point. I'm leaning into the mic now, Titus. You see this right now. I'm going to
I
go ahead and
see
get
it.
my dad voice on and everything. Listen to me, son. I've never walked a red carpet. I want to walk a red carpet, in the legit red carpet where people stop and go, I don't know who this man is, but we need to go ahead and take his picture.
Yep.
So if you in 3 years, if you the biggest thing on the block,
I
I
got
need
you.
you at some point, and wherever you at, Goat, if you're still with us, I need you and Marcus to be like, hey, you remember this like no name podcast that you were like, he was giving you all this love. You supposed to bring him up here to walk a red carpet. So keep that in mind.
I got you. I
Deal?
promise. I
All
promise
right.
you that. I got you.
So and it's interesting that you bring up UFC. Um, I'm still a fan that I think Dana White, he did a great job with it. But I remember OG UFC where there was no weight classes.
Yeah.
Are you
It's
old enough to remember?
chaos. Absolute
Do you remember no
chaos.
weight classes?
So I've never really watched a UFC fight in my life. I actually
Oh,
only watched the business side of it. So I
oh,
studied the
okay.
business side of it.
Smart. I mean, there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
You
I'm not really big into watching any type of sport. It's just not my thing.
see my man Marcus got me. Thank you, Marcus. But if you go back and watch like old school UFC, um, you will see guys, and I interviewed Dan Severn, who is a Hall of Fame UFC or Hall of Fame pro wrestler, and him and I talked about some of these fights. And there's a fight where this big black dude was like 350 pounds, and he fights this little tiny white dude and gets his ass kicked because the guy was able to knock him down. And Dan was telling me about the fight. He was like, yeah, that little dude couldn't fight anymore after that because he broke his hands on that dude's face.
Jeez.
Like that's the UFC I miss. Like where you could get a guy who's like, spin the wheel. Brrr. Oh shit.
Yeah.
5'7.5" Murph has got to fight 6'8" tall, Andre the Giant. I guess it's happening.
Structure
I,
is great, but there's something beautiful in chaos as well. It's like that chaos can allow the freedom of expression in a way that structure can't.
hey, go. I'm gonna throw you a side one that you'll love. So we're involved with the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. We are their official podcast. Do it every year. It's up here in the Albany area. So if you ever come up to New York to what used to be the Knickerbocker and the Pepsi and the MVP and all that, if you look into it, they just introduced a gentleman. And I can't think of his name right now. I wish Seth or Mike was around. Who was you'll like this if you like UFC and you like the business end to it. He was a pro wrestler back in the early 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, who went to Japan for like a month, 2 months, and started whooping their best judo and jujitsu masters using American wrestling.
Interesting.
Just started whooping them. And because what he was doing is they were used to, that's a very throw oriented sport. Well, he started whooping them and they started introducing more arm locks and joint locks and chokeholds because of this guy. And he just started whooping these dudes. He just got introduced into the Hall of Fame this year and is really, now that he's kind of been brought back to light, really is the originator of American MMA. And he brought skills to Japan that had never been there before. And then these things got introduced into the martial arts. And now we just think of them as Japanese martial arts. But it was a pro wrestler that brought them. Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
absolutely amazing. So when's the next big event, brother? I just want to throw that sidebar in
Yeah,
there.
every weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So every weekend we have another game. So this weekend,
No breaking the league at all? Nothing? Like it's
not
year
really.
round?
Yeah, it's year round. Every 3 months is another $100,000 tournament. So
No shit.
yeah, so it's about 300,000 a year. Yeah.
So every 3 months, league restarts. It's 100K. So you
New
got
wheel.
your brother. I'm thinking business here for a second. You got your hustle on
Yeah.
every minute.
Every minute.
You're doing your best. You're doing your best horror routine every chance you get
Going
because
for broke.
You are pimping it out every
Yeah,
chance you got.
going for broke. We're gonna make
Bro,
this thing, like I said, 3 years.
that's awesome. Like my wife and I own my own business, and my sons are always like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I got work to do," but it's 5 o'clock. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I know how to tell time too. But this is for you. That's I hate the term side hustle. I really do. It's about a second job. It means you have 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Stop saying side hustle. You are hustling though.
Yeah.
Brother, I love the sound of that every minute. I'm going to be kind of nosy. How old are you?
33.
Brother, fucking rock out, bro.
Yeah.
Take control of your own life and your own destiny. I got to ask you this quick thing. So you went from so you really didn't have a paycheck life because you were a real estate agent. So you knew what it meant.
No, I was still W-2 because I was doing more developing. So I wasn't an agent. I was never licensed.
Okay, so you weren't in that piece. So how hard was it to learn how to not be an employee? I got to ask that. How hard was that to learn?
I don't think in my head I was ever an employee. Like,
okay,
I never followed like the rules. I never even when I was doing it, I was always at the top of the class, no matter where, whether it was in school and then in insurance and then in real estate. And I made a lot of money in real estate, but eventually it got to a point where this got too big and they said, you either shut this, you got to pick one. You're going to have to shut this down or whatever. And as you can see, I chose this. So
man can't serve 2 masters.
Yeah. So
that was my wife and I's conversation when I started my current business. She was like, "Were you going to keep doing this other thing while you do that?" I'm like, "Man can't serve 2 masters. I either do one or the other. I can't do both." Brother, I love fucking awesome, man. That I love everything about your league, but that side of the hustle is so awesome to me. You created something that does not exist anywhere else. It doesn't.
Nope.
Now, do you have that? Okay, again, 3 years. Stafford, Virginia is not like a mecca. Let's be honest with you.
Right. Right.
It is not a mecca.
No.
What would be the location if we're at that 3-year mark? We've moved this from $100,000 every 3 months to $250 every 3 months, $300 every 3 months. Let's call it that. $300 every 3 months. So a badass like my man Hollywood think he the baddest. But I mean, you start getting into 300,000 every 3 months. That's a different game.
Right.
Even 100,000. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I
So
think if people understood every 3 months you could make 100K, it's a $400,000 a year job.
yeah. Yeah. So what location?
What's your venue like? Like, what would
there
be the venue that you'd be like, yeah?
there wouldn't be a venue. It would be each state at that point would have their own
Oh,
venue, and then states would travel to different venues to have competition. So you'd have your home games and your away games based on how the schedule is set up. It's already done that way, so we already have like
okay.
New York Bandits, New Jersey Gorillas. So they're all in different Virginia Bots, West Virginia Trolls. They're all different locations. Yeah.
Why is West Virginia Trolls?
That's the
Because they
jersey I
got
got
Uncle
on now
Dad.
too. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
they got Uncle Dads. Oh, that's too
but
funny.
but each location would have its own venue that they travel to compete. And so, that would be the ideal scenario. Every place has its own arena, and they're competing in their different arenas. Each state is meant to have its own team too. So eventually, we'll go from 12 teams to 52 teams. Not anytime soon.
But you're gonna have
But
Puerto Rico and
yep.
who else? Puerto Rico and
What
like
is it?
the Samoan Islands
Yes,
have a
yeah. I
team.
think Bahamas is the other.
Bahamas, okay, or U.S. Virgin. I mean,
Yeah,
you just have like the Islanders,
yeah.
but they had
Well,
their
yeah.
theme music has to be Island Boys.
Yeah, that would
Like
be
they come out,
perfect.
they're gonna be like Island Boys. We don't know how to sing,
If we
but
had to have a home office, it would probably be in like somewhere warm that we could go where I could, chill and relax with all of the other
come on, man. You from
executives.
VA. I grew up in Baltimore, dog. I'm from Baltimore originally. You down there in VA, like y'all get stupid snow. Like I don't understand how like you guys get like stupid snow compared to Baltimore. You get worse snow than we got.
It doesn't make sense either. It's always like right once the winter's over, then we get this big snowstorm.
Oh, y'all
It's
get stupid
yeah,
snow.
yeah.
Stupid. Folks, look, we're getting ready to close the bar up here. We're getting ready to come to that time. Titus, I love everything about your energy, the way you're putting this league together. I mean, there is nothing about this that just doesn't sound fun. The idea of the wheel, the different games. I still think you need to do a weekend. You do like an 8-bit or a 16-bit or a 64-bit weekend. I think that would just fuck everybody's head up.
Yeah.
Like if they were all coming in like, yeah, so I'm really good at blah blah blah, and all of a sudden, your first person shooter guy's got to play GoldenEye. Like, how great would that be? Like, oh, you're a big first person shooter, you're playing GoldenEye this weekend.
Yeah.
That would be amazing to me. Or original Doom, like that would just be so much fun to me. So what you're doing is amazing. And folks, look, uh, Titus knows his marketing. He knows how this process works. Goat, if you're in production, you understand this. If you like what you just heard here from me with Titus, give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share. All those things on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, going on to Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, giving that 5-star rating. That's how this league in 3 years becomes bigger than anybody else. That's how they blow anybody else out because they hear it on these shows. They find out about it. I sent a message to my son that's really into the whole Call of Duty League. And I'm like, hey, I've got this league on. He's like, Dad, I've never heard of them. I'm like, here's the link. Go check it out. Because we have to do that. That's how we do it as a community. Your 400 tell 400 who tell 400. And the next thing you know, this is blowing up. So give us a like, give us a follow, give us a share. And if you're finding Titus through me, I expect the same exact thing. Going onto his YouTube, his Twitter, his Twitch, finding out what they've got going on. He's on LinkedIn too, folks. He's pretty active on there. Go see what he's got going on. Give him that like, that follow, that share. This is important. This is how we grow each other. This is how the community piece to this works. It's that important. Now, Titus, I know you've listened to all, what am I up to? Like this is 190 something or 200. I have to look. I've so lost track. I'm such a horrible person that way. But I know you listen to every single episode. I know you had the GOAT and his production team sit down and listen to all of them because they needed to know what was going on. So you know what's about to come. every guest gets the final word in every episode. And as I tell everyone, don't log on don't log off after this. We got to talk for a minute. So what's the final word there, Titus? Spotlight.
Final word. Shout out to the best team in the world, UEL Esports. Shout out to the best family in the world at home. Love you guys.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.